I came to believe that this is not justice. The way that we treat people, the way that we punish people in response to violating the law is nonsensical, counterproductive, and unloving. I came to seek a different form of justice, something that wouldn't seek to respond to harm with harm, but something that would seek to respond to harm with healing.
My name is Mary Yeboah. How I got involved in restorative justice, I'm an educator, my background an art teacher and then an educational leader, both in the U.S. and in Ghana. And most recently, before leaving for Atlanta, I was working at Wheaton College as a director of graduate student life, and we had an opportunity to be trained in restorative practices there. And that opened up sort of a new way of looking at the anti-racist, anti-oppression work that I had been doing for some time.
My name is Cliff Nellis. I am the president and CEO of the Lawndale Christian Legal Center. That was started by a local church in the North Lawndale community on the west side of Chicago called the Lawndale Christian Community Church. I will save my comments for restorative justice when we speak more about the substance of this work. I will just say that if there are any doubters in the room, if I were to rewind my clock to 16 years ago, I would have been right with you thinking that this is foolish, soft on crime, and probably somewhat ridiculous to think that we should sit in a circle and resolve potentially even serious matters like violent crime or even low-level crime. So if you're unsure or you're new to this, hopefully we will help flesh out why we are all such passionate believers of this today.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Tafoya. I am the current CVI program manager at Think Outside the Block in Inglewood. CVI stands for Community Violence Intervention. I oversee our high-risk case management, our victim services, and our community outreach teams. Alongside with that, I'm also a board member for Corazon Community Services in Cicero. I'm the trauma-informed and restorative so-called specialist on the board. And I'm an independent facilitator, trainer, and consultant in trauma-informed and restorative practices. I've done stuff for the Chicago Police Department. I've done stuff for lawmakers in Springfield, for community organizations, for churches, and others. Something that I hardly talk about as the days, weeks, months, and years go by. I'm also a formerly incarcerated individual. I spent 20 years of my life in the Illinois Department of Corrections from the age of 18 to 38. The reason I really don't speak about it is not because I'm ashamed of it or it bothers me or anything like that. It's a part of my story and my life and my journey. It's because it doesn't identify me.
My name is Keith Talley. Just to give you a little bit about my background, I am a member of Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois. I'm a prison solidarity specialist. We go around to various UUs throughout the state and help them change institutions. I'm also the coordinator for the reentry department at Phalanx Family Services, where we provide workforce development for individuals who are returning home from prison. We help individuals with training and jobs. And what that looks like is, say a person comes home and they want to receive some training, they want to be a commercial truck driver. We'll bring them in our program. We'll give them some job readiness training, some digital literacy training. We have partnerships with PNC Bank. We give them some financial literacy training. And we also pay for them to go to school, which is a considerable amount. And we also pay them a wage while they go to school. My experience with restorative justice began while I was confined. The Precious Blood Ministries used to come in and do a training, a restorative justice training, and they trained the guys on these circles. Once individuals were trained, then they would do circles and they would invite you to the circle. And so I went to a couple of those circles and how powerful they were. How powerful they were.
So as you can see, we have quite the lineup today. So just so you all have an idea of where we're headed, I'm going to just take a couple of minutes to explain the fundamentals of restorative justice. Because we have a variety of perspectives and experiences here, we want to just make sure we're all on the same page about the core of what we're talking about. So our criminal punishment system, we'll call it, operates around three fundamental questions. It asks, what law was violated? Who violated it? And what do they deserve? Restorative justice asks three very different questions. It says, who was harmed? What do they need? And whose responsibility is it to try to meet that need? So the criminal legal system or the criminal punishment system is primarily concerned with punishment. When harm was caused, we got to figure out how much harm to do in response. Restorative justice says, harm happened, we should try to heal it. Who's responsible for that? How are we going to work this through?
That was such a beautiful and succinct explanation of the essence of restorative justice. I usually, when talking about restorative justice, talk about restorative and transformative justice. And that could be just because I'm a systems thinker and I lean into what systems were in place that cause people to make decisions that are harmful. So restorative and transformative justice. Restorative works on the relational aspect of the harm that was caused, and transformative is making changes in the systems that allow for this harm to take place in the first place. So very, very briefly, I just wanted to share a little bit about maybe a couple more stories about what brings me to the work and what I do now, and that will shape why I approach the work that I do in the way that I do. And that includes some experiences that I've had throughout my life that have shaped my perspectives and my understandings. So as an art teacher in a public school in Illinois in the 2000s, multicultural education was a big part of our training at the time, where diversity was really framed as, let's do art projects with the kids that show a variety of different cultures. Very beautiful work. My work abroad in Ghana, big emphasis on intercultural understanding, respecting other cultures and things like that. And when I lived in Ghana and the work that I did in Ghana, what I came to realize at that time was that this very beautiful appreciation for cultures that's kind of also rooted in missionary work too, that's what the background that I came from, was highly oppressive when we didn't talk about racial identity and power. That sort of was less talked about as people and interactions and systems and ideas are interacting around these diverse relationships. And so when I started to come to understand racism and other systems of oppression and taking up social justice work in intersecting with intercultural understanding, I could begin to see that in the intersections of the two, we could talk more honestly about what it means when two cultures collide, or when two people with very different life experiences and identities and understandings of the world come into interaction, especially in places like schools or churches or even families, homes, and communities. The role of long legacies of colonialism and so on, even the use of the English language in the schools that we're working on, all these things will be able to come up when we're able to look at the beauty of the intercultural international school environment and looking at the reality of social injustices and the way systems of oppression continue to work themselves out in these diverse intercultural places. After I left Ghana, I came back, I mentioned I worked at Wheaton College, where I was introduced to restorative practices or restorative justice training. And there I began to see another approach, which has become the sort of the third overlapping circle in what I think about as like a Venn diagram, that in the intersection of intercultural understanding, social justice, and restorative practices is where, when I began to lean very much into stopping the harm, I might say at any cost. Part of that, with good intentions, actually did cause some harm for people who were either aware or unaware of the harm they were causing, or further division. An example I'll give is when I served on the school board, having an opportunity to listen to very, very different perspectives about what's good for children, whether it's masking in COVID or anti-racist work or CRT. Through being on the school board, my role was to listen deeply and carefully to every member of the community. And I began through that process to see how important restorative justice thinking is, to say This is not a bad group or a good group, which I lean to. I want to call harm bad. I want to do that, and I want to call harmful people bad. And so my introduction to restorative justice changed me first to be able to say, if I'm choosing to do something other than what I'm seeing done to people, I have to humanize every single person somehow and hold myself accountable and others accountable to the harm that's going. So I think restorative practice is how it's operating in some communities without taking into consideration justice or social justice in circles and things like that, is then we're missing a big part of that too. But when we talk about social justice without restorative justice, then we're at risk of causing more harm in the other direction. And so at the intersection of those three is how I've really come into this work, my work at school in Atlanta, of being able to bring teachers together in an international school. So we have multiple languages, multiple cultures, many different faiths, people from all over coming together, and children from all over, and trying to talk about what it means to build healthy relationships and repair harm when it happens. And it was an incredible opportunity to see where the convergence of these things could actually bring people into conversation with each other, where the tools of, say, circles provides a structure, a container strong enough to hold a variety of different perspectives, and where when we listen to each other, we can learn and grow. So the reason that I share that, and what my sort of maybe piece of the puzzle in what we want to do collectively today, is to say, how does restorative and transformative justice, or circles, in schools, in families, in communities, or faith-based institutions, organizations, and workplaces, build a stronger foundation of building the skills and the understandings and the ability to hold multiple perspectives, even painful ones, and keep the humanity of each participant intact, can, I think, build a stronger foundation for significant harm that happens or doesn't happen in the criminal legal system. And so that when we have conversations about, actually, we can do prisons, we don't actually need them at all, it's because we've already done the hard work of actually building community at the very local and family level. So that's like my piece of the puzzle, but I really want to save more time for question and answer and from hearing from the other panelists as well.